Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to hop into some more fun topics now, like citation building. So a lot of the hard work is over. We've done all the initial setup. We've structured our website properly. We've done all this photo tagging. That's the kind of stuff that takes a little bit of time. Obviously, well worth it in the long run. But what's going to start to get our listing moving is we have to have citations. So we've talked about, sort of the history of Google Places, Google Plus Local, all of that. In the early days, it solely relied on citations. Basically, your ability to get ranked or not ranked had to do with, did you have more citations, not even really better citations, just more citations than your competition. Now, if you're not familiar with a citation, all it is a reference back to your, not really your maps listing, but just it has your name, address, and phone number on it. So it's things like Yelp and Super Pages and anything along those lines. I mean, there's a million of them. Any of those directory types of sites that will list your business name, address, and phone number, sometimes with or without a link back to your website. That's a citation. And there's good citations, there's bad citations. So when we first get started, we want to do a couple different things. We want to immediately order citations. Now, when do we order those citations? When do we start building it? Now, remember I talked about in an earlier video, people often make the mistake of they create the listing, and before the listing is even live, sometimes before they've even claimed the listing, or not claimed it before they validated the listing or verified it, people are off to the races in building citations, which is a mistake because many times what is displayed on the live listing might not be what you added to the dashboard for Google My Business. And so suddenly you're building all these citations to a business that, doesn't in the mind of Google really exist, because the citation is going to be different than what Google is displaying on the live listing. So we always start our citation building once the live listing is up and running and we know that Google has displayed it with ST versus street or park versus PK, that sort of stuff. And we're going to take that exact address and the way that it's formatted. So for instance, if it shows the suite number on line 1, we want to try to build our citations with the suite number on line 1. If it uses the word suite, we use the word suite with citations. If it uses the pound sign or the number sign, we're going to use the number sign. So you get the idea, but the time to build citations is not until the live listing is ready to go. We're going to build it directly from the data that we have in the live listing. So that's very important. Number one, that's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing that's very, very important that people don't realize, and we need to have a little conversation about this before we get started, is there are data aggregators out there. There's several of them. There's 3 or 4 very large data aggregators. And so I want you to head on over to marketercenter.com. This is a great place to buy proper citations, really high authority citations. Andrew's a great guy, and you're going to get your project kicked off correctly if you go to Marketer Center and go through the process basically of ordering citations. So I'm going to break down the types of citations and how it works. But he has a really great explanation if you go under big citations of the data aggregators. And again, let me get rid of this video that's just completing here. So these data aggregators exist, and think of it as sort of this ecosystem, a local search ecosystem. And this is a really great flowchart. And really what it is it's showing that the 3 big data aggregators, which are Infogroup, Axiom, and Factual, and there's really another one, which is Localese. What they're doing is they're feeding all of these other sites lots of different types of sites are getting fed by these data aggregators. And so here's the thing, guys. You can go out and you can build 100 citations on, wherever. You can build it on Yahoo Local, on Yelp, and YP.com, and, Foursquare, and Superpages, and all these different places. And if the top 3 data aggregators have no information on you, Infogroup, Axiom, Factual, or that information, even worse, is incorrect somehow. It's it's different than what you've put out there. Google oftentimes is going to overlook all these other hundreds of citations that you've created and look to Infogroup and look to Axiom and Factual to figure out what's the truth here. So these data aggregators carry a lot of freaking weight. Let's put it that way. If you're not listed here, or your listing is incorrect, it's going to have a major impact on your ability to get ranked. I will tell you that oftentimes that alone is enough to get you ranked, where you find out that you've had some, either no information or wrong information on these big 3 data aggregators, and you change that, and suddenly, boom, you appear in the maps listings. So just remember that these 3, and actually these 4, feed a lot of these different sites, a lot of massive sites. Not only Google Maps can get fed directly by that. So if, for instance, I was to go out and just start the process by building a listing on Infogroup, Factual, and Axiom, there's a chance that Google will scrape that data and create its own listing based off of that. But it also feeds things like AOL Local, Apple, Siri. Now, do you think that's important, being on GPS locations? Absolutely, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you want, because everything and everyone has gone mobile. And so we want to make sure that we have our name, address, and phone number on the, really what are the most important sites. And what often feeds these sites are these 3 big data aggregators. Now, does that mean that you can just stop there and go out and just add your stuff to the 3 data aggregators? No, because it's going to take a hell of a long time for everything to populate and for the entire web to update from the data aggregators, and in some cases it just won't do it. But what we want to do is we want to start there, and we want those 3 listings to match our Google Maps listing or Google My Business listing exactly. Then we want to go out and we want to build on all these different types of sites. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do, especially with a new site, brand new site, can be a client site, could be pay-per lead site, could be lead gen of any sort, rank and rent. I go on over to Marketer Center and I just order their big citation package, because at this point nothing really exists about that business. I've got the address. There's not much information out there. There's no citations that have been built. You're going to want to check this to see if the citations have been built. We'll talk more in the troubleshooting section about all of that. But I would go and pick up this package right here, where guess what it does? They actually submit this to the 3 most influential data aggregators. They skip Localese, because Localese, for whatever reason, charges $300 a year to list with them. So obviously they can't afford to do that when you're spending $30 at Marketer Center. So they're going to hit the next biggest 3 data aggregators, and they're going to add your listing to that, plus 20 other citations. So if you go over here, it's just going to have you fill out a bunch of information. We are going to put a coupon code underneath the video, and you're going to get a discount anytime you order from Marketer Center. I highly recommend them just because their stuff is done correctly. I've worked with a lot of citation providers. I've talked to a lot of people who really try to skimp on this stuff. They hire a VA, or they go to Fiverr, and then they get a report back, and 50% of the citations are either on garbage sites, or they're slightly off from how you send it over. It's like, oh, whoops, I accidentally put street instead of street. And those people don't care. It doesn't matter to them, but it needs to matter to you. You have to match this stuff, guys. It really, really matters. So I prefer to work with, people who are going to get the job done right the first time. So that's the first place I start. And that's the first thing you really need to understand is the 3 big data aggregators mean everything. Most people don't even know this exists. If you do nothing else, make sure your information is correct within these 3 big data aggregators. And eventually a lot of these other sites will pull in data from these data aggregators and create listings for you. Again, I don't recommend waiting around that long because it's just going to take forever for your maps listing to rank if you wait for the entire web to update and create, scraped listings from the data aggregators. Order this package, do yourself a favor, and all at once you're going to get, listings on all 3 of these plus 20 other major sites, the biggest of the big citation sites, okay? And sometimes with local, depending on how competitive it is or not, that's enough. If it's not, then you may want to order more citations. So just keep in mind that that's the first place to start. We're going to talk more about this in the advanced ranking strategies, especially what to do when you get stuck. But I've been hammering home over and over and over again the importance of local, the importance of geographic signals that tie into your maps. And one of the biggest ways you can do that is through what they call hyperlocal citations. Andrew has it set up as hyperlocal citations. And what you can do is, instead of just putting your citation on the Yelps of the world and Super Pages of the world and Foursquares and all that stuff, which everybody has, by the way, we want to drill down even further. We want to go and look at what are the hyper local citations available to us. People don't even realize that oftentimes there are 40 or 50 locations or sites out there that are location specific to your city where you can actually add your name, address, and phone number. And talk about really sending geo-targeted, geo-specific information. That's the way to do it. If I'll give you an example. Austin, Texas, for instance, I didn't realize it years ago, but you could just go on to the major Austin newspaper, and it's been a while since I've been there. I can't even remember the name of the newspaper. But you could go and add your business listing, right, for free. And it was exactly that. It was your name, address, and phone number. And I think you could even get a link to your website. That's a very hyper-specific, geographic location where you're adding your name, address, and phone number. That's a great citation to have. So what I do when I'm ordering the big citations package is I just, you can just add it right here. So it says, do you want hyper locations added? Add whatever you can afford. The more, the better. They're not going to guarantee that you're going to get 80 hyper-local citations, but I think what Andrew does is he'll do a mix of niche-specific and super localized citations once they run out of local citations. So order as many as you can, because I guarantee you your competition doesn't have that for the most part. Some of them that are very smart or have SEOs working for them who understand this, they'll order these things. They'll have some of them, so you need to outdo them. So in order of importance, I would say geographic specific citations and then niche specific citations. So I would want to get into every attorney directory imaginable, free or paid or otherwise. Preferably through a citations package, I'm going to get in enough of them to where I don't have to go out and pay for listing prices, or pay the listing price of some of the big companies out there of what they charge to get listed. Like nolo.com, for instance, is a big authoritative legal site. I can get a full listing in there, but I think it costs something like $300 a year. So I might get my client to pick up the tab on that. I'm certainly not going to do it. And you're certainly not going to go to those links probably on a rank and rent or pay per lead type of site. But just keep in mind that right off the bat, we want to do things that matter. We want to make sure that we are in those data aggregators. We have a bunch of the major citation sources, and you don't have to have a bunch of them. We don't have to have hundreds of them necessarily right off the bat. And then I want to immediately order local and niche-based citations, because that's going to give me a huge competitive advantage right out of the gate. Okay, so that's how I start. And then from there, if you need more, you can probably order more from Andrew. If you need more generic citations, you can buy more through potentially other services. I think Andrew offers plenty of them over at Marketer Center. Just scroll through the packages. I think he has, all these different types of citations. The other thing that I would do that's going to make you stand out are rich media citations. So just click on more info. I'm not going to, go into great detail, but it's basically video or audio production, video syndication, image and audio syndication. So it's taking citations to the next level, where citations are headed. And it's allowing us to put a lot more data on our sites. Now, especially with image and audio syndication, super important, right? Because what we're going to be doing when we upload our images, it's going to go out, we're going to create not only our name, address, and phone number, but our image is going to go out on 30 different sites, and we're going to mix up those images. And remember, those images are all geo-targeted. They're all tagged inside of the image with the name, address, and phone number. So now we have that syndicated across all these different websites that accept rich media citations. And again, that's going to be another massive trust signal to Google that this business is legitimate. These citation sources not only match name, address, and phone number, but the photo that's geotagged exactly matches the maps listing, which exactly matches the website. So all these things feed into each other, guys, just like we've been talking about. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm always going to order probably 50 of these citations right off the bat. Use your judgment depending on, if you're in a super low competition niche, you might not need to do this. If you're in a medium competition niche or anything that's pulling a blended algorithm, I would do this, because it's going to have two effects. Number one, the name, address, and phone number on all these different types of sites, geo, niche, rich media, regular structured big citations, the big citation sources. It's going to communicate with your maps listing that, everything matches out there. This is a legitimate business. Second thing is, almost every citation source allows a link to your site. And it's not going to be keyword stuffed. It's not going to be any of that. It's just going to be either your brand or URL. Most of the time, just a naked URL to your site. So these are authoritative sites, guys. I mean, when you have a listing on Yelp with your website, the URL of your website, naked URL pointing back to your website, that's authoritative in and of itself. And you're not doing any kind of over optimization with anchor text. It's just your URL appearing on all these authoritative sites over and over and over again. So that in and of itself is going to help rank your website at the same time. You're going to have, 100 links right away with citations that will link over to your site. And you might be saying, oh, well, but I've heard citations are all no follow. It doesn't matter. We want to have a very diversified link profile between do follow and no follow links. And we don't really care that it's no follow. It's going to dilute our anchor text down the line, meaning that we can get away with a lot more stuff down the line if we have right up front, 100 citations with links back to our site that don't say anything. It doesn't say Irvine divorce lawyer. It doesn't say Irvine child custody attorney. It just says redhillfamilylaw.net. So what happens is I've got all these links, and if I now put one link in there that says Irvine divorce attorney or, find an Irvine divorce attorney, do you think that's going to over optimize me? No. It's not, because I have 100 other links that, have diluted that essentially. So citations can help you in two different ways. It helps your listing, but it immediately helps your website. And guess what, guys? We are in a blended algorithm world at this point where that really matters. Your ability to rank your website is a key factor in your ability to rank your maps listing oftentimes. And I will tell you, if you set up your site properly with the right on-page factors, that Mark teaches in Local Profit Breakthrough, and then hit it with citations being the first thing that you do, and then maybe you hit it with a press release or something like that, where it even further dilutes your anchor text, because in a press release, we're just going to have a brand name linking over to our site. It's just going to be Red Hill Family Law, Red Hill Family Law, over and over again. Now we've got a couple hundred really powerful links that have diluted our anchor text. We've got a properly optimized, properly structured on-site, our on-site has all been done properly up front. Guess what happens? It's very easy to index or land right on page 2 immediately before we do anything else, just by doing these things. Sometimes we can just do on-site stuff properly and add our articles to our website, and if our siloing and interlinking is all done correctly, I've seen that be enough to get me to pages anywhere from 2 to 4 without doing anything else. And remember, at the beginning of this training series, I showed you how there are sites that are in maps that are sitting on page 2. So sometimes that's enough to get you there. Your organic listing is on page 2, and you've done everything with your citations right up front, and boom, you're in maps because you're listed high enough. You're on page 2, bottom of page 1, and suddenly you're in maps right away rather than waiting for months and months and months. So don't think of citations just as a way to reinforce what we've done on our maps listing. It does that, but it also, because we're able to put a link into our website, it's helping rank our website, guys. It's helping dilute our anchor text so that when we want to go back and every once in a while hit it with, some sort of not necessarily exact match anchor text like Irvine Divorce Attorney, but some variation of that, we're not going to get penalized because we've got 200 other links out there that have diluted that. So I hope you understand that. Very important concept. Really quickly, I want to talk about, there's different types of citations. There are, people think of citations as what you can go buy as a package, and you're going to get on Yelp, or you're going to get on Foursquare or Superpages or yellowpages.com. Those are structured citations, meaning that site is designed to house your citation. It's designed to create a business listing. You can also put what are called unstructured citations everywhere. So this can be on blogs, it can be on news sites, it can be inside of a YouTube description, anywhere that you can get it. It can be, maybe you have a series of PBNs where instead of, having anchor text, or maybe in addition to having anchor text linking back to your site, you have an article, let's say in this case about divorce, and maybe I have a link back that just says Red Hill Family Law, and then under it I might have an unstructured citation. So that's me just populating that blog post with my citation, name, address, phone number, name of business, all that stuff. And the same thing in YouTube. I can go just copy my citation, drop it in YouTube. All those different things are unstructured citations. Me putting my citation or my my name, address, and phone number inside of my photo, that's unstructured. So we don't have to play by the rules of just having Yelp and Superpages and all that kind of stuff. We can have hyper targeted geo-specific citations that are, it's a citation on a newspaper site or a directory site that's about the city. It's going to help you. It's an industry or niche specific site. That's going to help you. It's none of those things. Maybe it's just a blog that you've created. It's a series of Web 2.0s that you've created where you have your citation. And we'll get into some advanced strategies about how to do that later. But I just want you to understand the difference between structured and unstructured, and you want to have both, okay? So start off with structured, go to Marketer Center, you're going to get a discount. Order the big package because you're going to get the 3 local data aggregators. Throw in some local and niche specific citations, throw in some rich media citations, see where you land, see how you're doing after a few weeks. And again, if your website's structured properly, you might be on maps within, a few weeks, maybe even sooner. So see where you land. If you're still having trouble, then maybe you want to move on to some unstructured types of citations. And, you're going to want to go out and double check that the 3 major data aggregators have listed your information properly, that sort of stuff. So that's really it on citations. A very important aspect of still getting ranked. Even though we are in sort of the blended algorithm age where what you do on your website is almost as important or equally as important as a citation, citations have not gone away. Google relies on them for your ability to get ranked on maps. So you have to still do citations, and you need to do them properly. So hopefully this has been helpful, and I will see you in the next video. All right, guys, welcome back. We are now into the advanced section of this training. So we're going to basically be taking this to a whole nother level. So if you want a massive competitive advantage, you are going to want to pay very close attention, to all the advanced steps that we can take to really drive our rankings through the roof, or even if you just need that nudge, like maybe you're stuck in position 4 or 5 and it's just not moving. We want to start to teach you some really advanced techniques that nobody's doing out there. I mean, maybe a few people, but very few people are doing this, and allow you to really up your game, get rankings really fast. If you're right out of the gate, you just started a new listing, by doing some of this stuff, you're going to get rankings really fast. So we talked about unstructured citations, things like blogs, things like putting it in a YouTube description, could be putting it on a Google Plus page. Now, this is going to directly not appeal to the paranoid SEOs out there of the world who have been told over and over again, run far away before you directly tie all your properties together, right? You've been told hide your PBN footprints, make sure you use fake personas. This YouTube channel doesn't connect with this other property. You keep everything very separate because you want it to appear like there's lots of activity coming in from all these different sources. What I'm going to be teaching you is going to completely go against the grain on that stuff, okay? But what we're doing here is we're doing it in a way that Google really approves of and really looks for. They don't come right out and tell you, but they might as well have come out and told you. So remember, we talked about social data hub partners in an earlier video. They're not quite telling you, hey, these are important, but they're putting them on a developer web page saying basically, hey, these are important. They're important enough in Google's eyes that they consider them to be social data hub partners, essentially meaning that they're important sites that you should have content on. We know that Google has, several major things that they own that have massive domain authority. Blogger.com is a Google property. YouTube is a Google property. Google Plus is obviously a Google property. GOO.gl is a URL shortener, which is a Google property. Picasa, I've showed you the web album, Google property. What do these all have in common? Massive, massive domain authority. Massive trust, because not only is the domain authority there, but they're Google's own properties, right? So we're not going to shy away from linking these together. In fact, we're going to embrace linking all these different sites together to create a pattern where in Google's mind, we're doing everything correctly. We're not running from anything. In fact, we're tying all of our profiles together so they exactly match, so that when we do things like unstructured citations, which we're going to be doing, the authority level's there, because they're not only individually, on an individual basis is the authority level there, you know, domain authority 97 or 100, but tied together, the authority level is just huge. So, you know, I'm not going to talk about domain authority stacking. There's a lot of information out there about that. I think it's Jimmy Kelly teaches some of that stuff. You know, it's a very important concept, but, you know, I'm not going to get into great detail, but really what that's about is taking several different properties that have a high domain authority and stringing them together, or linking from one to the next, and then linking out to your money site or a tier 2 ring of sites, for instance, that then link to your money site. And what it's doing is it's stacking the authority on top of each other. You're taking the authority of one thing, let's say it's a blogger blog, with a link over to a YouTube channel, both of which have very high domain authority, and then you're linking back to your money site, or linking back to a tier 2 that links, you know, up to something else that links to your money site. So that's kind of really kind of a overview, quick explanation of, you know, domain authority stacking. It's kind of a fancy way, honestly, of saying building links to your links by using higher authority properties, right? Not to diminish what they've taught over there, but that's really what it is. So what I'm going to be teaching you is sort of taking that concept, but using the semantic web to take that one step further. We're going to be doing some domain authority stacking, because we're going to be tying together high domain authority properties. But we're going to do it in a way where we're not hiding anything. We're not just linking over. In fact, we're tying every single profile together so they exactly match. So we're going to do things like create a blogger blog called Red Hill Family Law that directly matches my maps listing, right? That's my business name, Red Hill Family Law, which directly in turn matches every citation out there. And then I'm going to create a YouTube channel called Red Hill Family Law. And then, you know, I already have a Google Plus page called Red Hill Family Law. And so we're going to be tying these together, and then we're going to, you know, use a couple other little tricks where we're going to drop some links into things like Blogger, you know, to basically interconnect all these Google properties. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, just full disclosure, this is not something that I came up with in any way, shape, or form. This is something that was, you know, I don't know if he invented it or popularized it, but really sharp guy, Bradley Benner over at Semantic Mastery. Really smart stuff coming out of Semantic Mastery. So, you know, you'll definitely want to check that out. I'll drop a link over to Bradley and his group over there. Very cool stuff. So I'm not inventing this. I'm just using it in a different way. Okay. So this is, these are, you know, some of Bradley's concepts that I'm using, but I'm going to be using them for a different purpose. So, you know, if you go through the Semantic Mastery training, for the most part, what they're teaching you how to do is rank YouTube videos by, you know, essentially doing what I'm teaching you. You upload a YouTube video, and all of your properties are directly tied together to a persona. So we're leveraging the semantic web. We are trying to create associations between different properties where, instead of hiding from the fact that these properties are somehow tied together like we've been taught, we're embracing it, and we're saying, hey Google, Red Hill Family Law, Red Hill Family Law. Every property they land on, Red Hill Family Law. So what he's teaching more is, when I upload a YouTube video, if I have all these different properties connected, and then through a combination of what's called IFTTT, if then if this, then that, it's basically a series of recipes where if I upload a YouTube video and I have all my, you know, all these different sites interconnected, it's going to syndicate that video out across all these different properties, which we're not hiding from. We're creating the exact same persona on every site, because it's going to allow Google to associate this site with this site with this site, and it's going to do it in a way that's not going to harm us. It's going to help us. So Bradley, very, very smart dude. But what I'm going to be teaching you is how we can use this for maps purposes. I don't think he really gets into that too much. And it's not really going to be done through IFTTT recipes, although I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. For now, we're going to keep it really simple. I just want you to, again, remember we are moving towards a semantic web. We are no longer in the era of, you add some keywords onto your page, somebody searches for a keyword, and that's it. Think of LSI keywords. That allows Google to figure out relationships between your main keyword and synonyms of your keyword, or things that should be seen in and around your keyword, right? This is kind of the same concept where we are allowing Google to see associations between our maps listing and our Blogger site, which then is associated directly with our YouTube site. And it directly associates with our Google Plus page, which also ties into our Digo page and our Delicious page, and so on and so on. So we're stringing these together, but we're going to do it in a way where we're going to create unstructured citations on each of these properties as a means to gain some massive freaking trust authority. And I can tell you right now, nobody's even doing this stuff at all. Nobody. And it's really, really simple to do. You don't have to have 20 properties, although I'm going to show you later why I recommend that you do have 20 properties. I'm actually going to drop a link later for us to go out and set those up for you, so you don't even have to deal with this stuff. They'll interconnect every persona. When I say persona, I mean like we'll set up 20 websites that basically every single site is done properly. It's every persona matches every other persona, where you should be dropping links in to actually interconnect sites, interlink sites. That's all done properly. It's going to all be done for you. And we'll build in the IFTTT recipes that will allow you to do some of this stuff on autopilot. That's going to be some super advanced ninja stuff that I'm going to teach you in a minute. But for now, I just kind of want to give you a feel for how this works and how you can do it just on a few properties. We already have a Google Plus page, guys, right? So if I go over to plus.google.com, let's see here. Where is I want to find my Red Hill Family Law Google Plus page. Here we go. So we already have this created as a part of when we created our maps listing. I showed you how to go in and find that. Very difficult to find for whatever reason. So obviously Google property, domain authority, very high authoritative property. So we're going to keep this open really quickly. Step 2 is we want to create a Blogger blog, and we want to name it the business name. So that's what I've done. I created a new blog. I went over to blogger.com. I set up a new blog, and I named it Red Hill Family Law. And if I view the blog, it's going to say Blogspot. So Blogger and Blogspot, same thing, Google's properties. You can see redhillfamilylaw.blogspot.com. My domain authority is 93. So what we're going to do here is we want to create a piece of content right out of the gate so that this thing doesn't get taken down. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. But just know you're going to want to put one solid piece of content without any links inside of the content itself, and just let it sort of age a little bit, okay? Like, in other words, don't go back and start creating a bunch more content and linking directly to your money site. That's not the purpose of this at this point. We can do that later if we want. For now, what we're going to be doing is I just want to create one post, put it there, and let this thing sit essentially, so that it's not going to get taken down. These things get taken down all the time because there's all sorts of spam tools that go out and create them, and there's people who will do it for there's Fiverr gigs where they'll create 20 blog spots or Blogger accounts, and they do nothing with them, and so Blogger is very quick to take it down. So you want to put maybe a 300 to 500 word original article up there. Don't touch it. Don't link out from it. Do nothing at this point. What we want to do though is just get it set up. And then what we're going to do is go over to design. And I want to go down to layout. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to create a gadget. Okay. We can do it in the sidebar. We can do it in a cross column. Doesn't matter. We can do it in the footer. Wherever you create it, doesn't matter. It's up to you. We want to add a gadget. So when I first signed up, what I forgot to tell you is that it asked me, do you want to connect your Google Plus profile? And I said yes. And so it should be already connected in my Google Plus profile, which is what I showed you. But I can add it as a badge. So I can go in and I can say, okay, well, let's add a Google Plus badge. Let's see where that's at. So I can say, add that as a gadget. And then it'll say, it's pulling in the wrong one, basically. So let's see here. Let's go to the page. All right, so it for some reason it's pulling in my personal one. We want it to pull in the Red Hill family law. I'm just going to encourage you to play around with this a little bit, and you can add a Google Plus badge right there. Then we're going to go back to add a gadget. So basically what we're trying to do here, just in a nutshell, is we're trying to, on our Blogger blog, have a link over to two places on our Google Plus page, our main about page and then our posts page. Okay, so that's all we're trying to do is on Blogger. We're trying to associate Blogger with another of our properties, which happens to be a Google property, all about Red Hill family law, and we're doing that by adding gadgets. So the next thing that we can do when we add a gadget is, hang on one second here. Let me just get this to open up. It's not cooperating very well. I'm going to hit pause real quick and get this to open back up because I want to show you something really important that we're going to add here. Okay, so I'm back. Really quickly, I was able to correct this whole Google Plus problem. It was pulling in my own profile for whatever reason. There's just a setting on the home screen where it was saying associate website with Brian Willey or with Red Hill Family Law. I chose Red Hill Family Law. I came back into the gadget section and pulled up Google Plus badge, and then I just clicked on page. So instead of person, there's nothing there. When I click on page, see how it switches to a Google Plus badge, and then I'm just going to hit save. So that's enabled. Okay, so I should have a Google Plus badge on my Blogger, on my actual blog, so we can try that out real quick. Let's go see if that shows up. Let's view the blog. Okay, there it is. Actually, there's 3 of them. So I must have done it 3 times on accident. So I would just go back and remove that. But you see how it's now, if I click on that, it's going to associate my page together with my Google Plus blog. That's very important. And where it goes to is to my posts. And so what we also want is we're going to want to grab the About Us link here, or the About link, since it's basically just going to my posts, the badge. We're going to add another little area in the gadget section. So let's go to View Blog, and then we're going to go back to Design. And let's see here. We're going to go to Layout. Let's give this a second to load. We got to get back to the gadget section. Okay, so here's the problem. It shows, look, we put 3 badges here, so we can just edit this out really quickly. Let's see if it just says remove. Yeah, we're just going to remove that. That's gone. We only want 1 version of that. And we are going to remove this one as well. Okay, so now we have one Google Plus badge. We want to add one more gadget basically, which is going to be a list link or a link list. So we're going to scroll down through here really quickly and look for link list. I just want to check and see if there's anything else I want to add. We don't need a blog list. We don't need a feed. We're not going to add our logo. We're not going to add a +1 button, although, you know, we could. That would up our authority level a little bit if we have +1 on our blogger site. You don't have to do that. The only thing we're trying to do here is really associate this site with other sites. So I want to add a link box or a link list right here. Just like that. Okay, so we're going to start. We can just say my links, or we can just say let's say associated not really always websites. Let's call it like my profile. Number of items to show in the list. We want to show, let's see, I want to put a YouTube channel. I want to put my about page on Google Plus, so that's 2. I want to put, let's see, the only other one that I want to put is a link over to my Picasa page. So I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything here. I think that's it. So let's say 3 properties. We already have the Google Plus badge, so that's one property associated. So now we just need YouTube. We need the About page on Google Plus, and then we need Picasa. We don't care about sorting, so let's say new site's name, Google Plus, and we are going to go like that and add our About page there. So now I've got our Google Plus right there. Now we're going to add a new site name, YouTube channel. And I don't have a YouTube channel, but what I would do is I would do the same thing. I would add it right there, YouTube channel, okay? What I do have is Picasa. So let's log back over into Picasa, go to my photos, and let's see if we have our photo album. Okay, so let's go back over here. I deleted those. I think they're right here. This is the only one that we did. Let's go and see what happens if we hit share on Google Plus. What I'm looking for is the share URL. That's all I want, is the actual share URL of Picasa. Let's see here. Let me see if I do this here. Because again, what I really want is my entire photo album. So we only did one as an example, but imagine that I added 10. What I want is to see if this is going to create a URL that I can use on another property that links over to that photo album without me being logged out. So what I want to do is go over to a new private window, and this is as though I'm logged out. I'm going to click on that. It's saying page not found. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to hit pause. I'm going to try to find this for you really quickly because I want to associate my Picasa web album inside of my Blogger account. So give me 1 second so I can find out where we're going to get that URL. Okay, sorry about that. I realized what I forgot to do, and I should have showed you this earlier. We want to be sharing these publicly. I had set this to unlisted, this album. So all you do is inside of the album itself, click on Actions, Album Properties, and if this is listed as only you, which it was, click to Public on the Web, Show Photo Locations to Viewers of this album, Save Changes. Like that, we're going to save changes. And then this is the URL right here. So this is not the URL. If I click on this here, I'll show you really quickly. It's not going to do anything at all. If I go over to, let's see, we're in a private window right here. If I go like this, it's going to say nothing. Actually, no, that actually worked okay. I take that back. When I tested it before, it did not. But that's the actual photo. So what if I want to share the whole album? That's what I really want to do. So I'm going to go back one level to my photos. And then this is the actual album, right? So it would, if I had 10 photos in here, it would show all 10 photos. So don't click on the photo and use that URL. Use this URL here, like that, because that will get, that's going to basically list all of our photos. And what we're going to be doing is linking over to this from Blogger. Again, it's linking over to a very highly authoritative property owned by Google that's going to show publicly all 10 of our photos that are geotagged. So let's just test this real quick. If I come here and I get rid of that and do this instead, notice now it's showing the album. So here's how I'm going to further leverage my authority. Obviously I can go straight with Picasa, or I can do google.gl, use a URL shortener. You know, it's up to you. I'm just going to do that right now and use a URL shortener. Both of them are highly authoritative. You're going to copy that, come back over to a private window. Let's test it, make sure it works. There. So what I've done here is, you know, I've created a Blogger account. I've added a couple different gadgets. One is the Google Plus badge. The second is my link list. And inside of my link list, we are adding, let me just get back to my actual link list here. Give me 1 second. Let's see, where did it go? Hang on 1 second here. Let me just find the actual link list so you guys don't have to see me digging for it here. It could, I mean, anything on the web, especially Google related, can be a kind of a pain in the butt to get back to. So just, you know that it can be a little bit of a hassle. So I'll be right back. Let me find the link list again so we can add to it. Okay, sorry about that. It was just hiding over in another window. So what I would do now, you know, I've added my YouTube channel, and what I would do now is just say Picasa web album or something like that. And again, you can use Picasa directly, or we can leverage Google's URL shortener to add the link. And it's just going to say Picasa web album. If I click on it, doesn't do anything from there. Let's just hit save. And I want to go over, let's see, check on preview and see what we have here. We've got our badge. I would probably move this badge, by the way, over here, because we're going to have our main blog post right here. So you can choose where the gadget's going to go, by the way. I'm just showing you really quickly for demo purposes. I would have the badge here. And then under my profile, I've got my Google Plus page, which for some reason is not linking out, but should be. I would have my YouTube channel here, my Picasa web album, which would, you know, if done correctly, would link out over to those properties. Right now, for some reason, it's not linking directly. It's having an issue. I think it's because it's in preview mode, actually, is the only reason it's doing it. If I was on the actual blog itself, it should work just fine. So just to summarize, all we're doing, guys, is we're connecting properties in an authoritative manner. You know, domain authority stacking is kind of a buzzword. It really is just sort of code for building links to your links. And, you know, stacking on the domain authority from one property to the next. We're doing that, but we're taking that to a whole nother level where we're interconnecting properties from a persona perspective, where everything is going to be, you know, my Picasa album is all about Red Hill family law. My Google Plus page is Red Hill family law for the about page. My regular Google Plus page for Red Hill family law for my post is right here. and that's going to be, also associated with it. YouTube is going to be associated with it. All that stuff, we're not only stacking that authority, but we're tying these personas together so that when we take it to the next step, which I'm going to show you in the next video, unstructured citations on some of these sites, man, we're going to get a huge boost from that, okay? So in the next video, I'm just going to show you really quickly how I would do an unstructured citation or several citations on all of these properties, okay? So I'll see you over there. Take care. Okay guys, welcome back. What we're going to do in this video is I want to show you the concept of unstructured citations. Eventually we're going to want to get a lot of these unstructured citations, but for now we're just going to put them on some Google properties, basically 2 Google properties to be honest. It's really going to be YouTube and Blogger that's going to get shared out to our Google Plus page, which will have a link back to our Blogger account. Which helps our Blogger account. And so, unstructured citations are very, very important. And all that is something that does not appear on a third-party typical type of directory listing style website like Yelp or Avvo if you're a lawyer, or Super Pages, Yellow Pages, the hundreds of sites where, we try to get citations on, where your competition gets it wrong, and where you can really shine and outdo them is by getting unstructured citations on places like blogs, news sites, inside of YouTube descriptions, really all over the web you can do this. And the way that we're doing it is a lot different than anybody else might even do it, if they even do an unstructured citation. So before we get to that point, remember, we still want to start with structured citations where we go out and we order, go over to Marketer Center, pick up the big citation package, because I want you to get in the data aggregators. I want you to order geo-specific, niche-specific, and rich media citations. Those are all going to help you crush it. But a lot of people do that nowadays, right? What they don't do is they don't do unstructured citations. And if they do, they don't necessarily do them properly. So everything that we've done in the prior videos is, goes against your grain probably as an SEO, goes against your nature. You want to hide things. You have this tendency to want to, hide your footprint, keep your PBN disconnected from this site, have fake personas all over the place. So what I just told you is completely opposite. Because we're using very high authoritative Google-owned properties, and because we are in the era of the semantic web. And again, semantic web, just think of it as associations. It's how does Google figure out that this belongs with this and this belongs with this? I showed you some of these relationships in schema markup, for instance, where I associated my address and my website with other properties, essentially Google properties, and in one case Facebook, and by using the same as attribute. So all I'm doing is allowing Google to take personas that are intentionally and directly tied together. Everything is Red Hill family law, and I've actually got links so they actually tie together. My Blogger links over to YouTube and links over to Google Plus and links over to Picasa. I'm not trying to hide anything. And in fact, I'm trying to do the exact opposite. I'm trying to create a pattern of this persona is real. This business is in fact very, very real. So some of you at this point might be saying, okay, well, you're pointing this site at this site, and this sounds a little like maybe like domain authority stacking. And not to take away at all from domain authority stacking, it can be very effective. But that's sort of a different concept. What we're doing with any type of domain authority stacking is we're building links to links. We're taking high domain authority properties, building a link over to another high domain authority property, maybe doing it a third time or a fourth time. And the end game with that is the final property that's been linked to is then going to link to your money site, or link to maybe like a Web 2.0 as a buffer that then links to your money site. And the concept is you're stacking authority along the way. They're all super high authoritative sites that stack together. By the time we get to the final site that links to our money site or links to the site that's going to link to our money site, the concept is we've picked up speed. It's like a snowball going downhill. We've picked up all this domain authority, and that link then becomes more powerful. We're not going to be doing that here. What we're doing is creating personas and interlinking sites together for trust factors so that we can do unstructured citations. So I can tell you right now, nobody does this stuff, guys. If they do unstructured citations, you know, they do it on a limited basis. I would say nobody or almost nobody is going to do what I'm about to show you, and it's going to give you a massive competitive advantage because we're using not only high authoritative domain high domain authority properties, but Google properties that are high domain authority that are linked together with our persona over and over again. So it has a semantic, it's like it's integrated from a semantic perspective. Google can read all this stuff together. That's what we want. So I'm going to show you how we do this. We just go to publish, or not publish, I'm sorry. We're going to go to, we need to add a new blog. So let's hit new post. Got ahead of myself there. So I have an article on divorce, okay? I'm going to hit pause and I'm going to grab my citation. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my citation and I'm going to paste it right here. Now, really quickly, I can put a little more information about this, on top of this. And I want to show you really quickly. Let's get this to drop down a little bit. So what I could do here is I could say, learn more about finding an Irvine divorce lawyer here. Okay, so notice what I'm not doing. I'm not linking at all. Number one, it's a brand new Blogger property, and we don't want to link out with our first article. We want to age our property. So we definitely don't want to be linking out at all at this point. All I'm trying to do is get this unstructured citation, but I can take it a step further, and we'll talk about this in some future videos about the concept of co-occurrence. Google filed a patent, I want to say it was last year, where it's basically indirect linking. It's looking for, again, it's semantic, it's the semantic web at play. It's looking for the interplay between keywords next to a link. So instead of me going like this and linking over to redhillfamilylaw.net, which I could do, I'm not going to. Normal co-occurrence keywords would be if I had an occurrence of my keyword here, Irvine divorce lawyer, and my link was actually just the word here. So what's happening is Google's reading this all together without getting me penalized. So I hope you see that. I could actually, multiple times have Irvine divorce lawyer, find Irvine divorce lawyer. And then just my link is right next to that keyword. That's a traditional co-occurrence. Very effective for link building, or I should say for ranking. It's really not a means of link building. Although you are creating a link, you're creating very watered down links, from the perspective of you're not using exact match anchor text or partial match anchor text, because you're not linking that anchor text. You're just, it's co-occurring next to the link that's actually going to be driving the juice over to your page. And when Google reads this, they go, okay, cool. This is an article about divorce. Oh, this is Irvine divorce lawyer. And here's a link to the site. So it has the effect of being an indirect linking method that's not going to get me penalized. I'm going to take it a step further here where I'm not even going to link at all. I'm going to use the concept of co-occurrence with a maps listing. Now I have no basis, just to tell you, no scientific basis, no testing basis to back this up. I just know that when I add this into my mix, it works, okay? And this is a way that you can get ranked for a lot of different keywords without, fear of getting your site penalized. You can do co-occurrence keywords very near your unstructured citation. So that's just a little tip from me to you that this stuff really does work. I have, nobody talks about it. There's no testing that's been done. I just know that when I add this to the mix of things that I do, I see my rankings go through the roof. So I suggest you definitely try it, and you can mix these keywords up depending on where the co-occurrence occurs, where your unstructured citation occurs. So enough about that. All we're going to do is hit publish. And then I'm going to go over to my blog here real quick. Really quickly, just notice that I reorganize this stuff into the sidebar. I suggest you have a profile picture, have your badge over here. Figure out how to get this sized a little bit better. I'm not going to take the time now, but you want this to look like a nice property, right? Because this is something that you can actually use over and over again. And it really is a real property. It's not like something we're trying to use just for ranking purposes. We can, we're not hiding footprints or any of that, as I explained. So get this all organized, put a real picture of the business owner, all this stuff, their badge, all the links we talked about. You want all this interlinked: YouTube, Picasa, Google+, all that stuff. So if I hit refresh, here's what's going to happen. You're going to obviously see my post. Here's my unstructured citation. Now what it did is it's going to automatically share over to my post page of Red Hill Family Law. And let's see, time. I did this a couple times because I was testing it just to see what it was doing. So you see one from earlier. You see one from just a minute or two ago. So this is it. It's going to give me a little snippet of it, which we don't care. We don't really need for our unstructured citation to appear in this post because our actual listing address is right here. So we don't really care. What matters is that we've now syndicated that over to another Google property that matters, right? So Blogspot went over to Google Plus automatically and syndicated over there and auto posted to that. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I would create a YouTube channel, and I would create a video, upload the video, and in the description area, we would do another unstructured citation. So let me just hit pause real quick. Okay, welcome back. I'm over here in my YouTube channel just to give you a quick demo. First thing that I want to do, and you're going to want to do too, I'm going to assume you don't have a channel. You're going to want to obviously create a channel. You're going to want to get it verified, do all the steps that you would normally do with a YouTube channel. And then you're going to want to go to my channel, go to About, and it's going to give you the opportunity to link over to where we want. And again, we want to interlink these properties. We've told Blogger that we want to be linked out to Google Plus and Picasa and YouTube. So now let's tell YouTube that we want to be linked over to Blogger, Picasa, and Google Plus. So basically you just go down to links, and then it'll tell you, you just select the number of links that you want. And so all we want are 3 links. We just want a link over to Blogger, to Google Plus, and Picasa. Okay, that's really it at this point. So I'm not going to do that here because obviously this is my channel. I don't want it linking over to Red Hill Family Law. But when you're doing these personas, again, this channel name would be called Red Hill Family Law. And we would have links over to all of our Red Hill Family Law properties. Again, we're interlinking our personas. So let me find the video that I want. I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the video that I want to make sure that I have a citation on. And in fact, I already have a citation on it. So again, this is a form of an unstructured citation, but it's a powered up unstructured citation because it's going to appear in context with a lot of stuff about divorce, from a channel that's completely associated with all my other personas. Like I keep hammering home, it becomes a much more powerful unstructured citation. So basically in the description box, I've got all this stuff about, I've got an article on divorce, all this stuff. And then you get down here and you can see I pasted in my citation, and here I actually pasted a link over to my Google Maps listing itself, which you can do or not do. You know, it's really up to you. It's not going to hurt anything if you do it. You know, and I just happen to do it at that point. The main thing we want though is we want this unstructured citation right here. So essentially, if you have, you know, if you create a brand new channel, you are going to want to, sorry, let me hit stop on that. If you create a new channel, you are going to want to upload a video right away. I'm not going to get into video creation or any of that stuff. It's very easy to do. You can like this one was outsourced on Fiverr. You can do that. You can create a little slideshow style video. Doesn't really matter. The point is we're not really going to try at this point to get that video ranked. We just want to get the unstructured citation ball rolling by having it on Blogger and YouTube, shared over to Google+. And, you know, I will tell you that there's another way to get an unstructured citation on Picasa. Think back to the training that we did when we uploaded our geotagged photo from the Picasa app up to the Picasa web album. It didn't contain the citation at that point, guys. It just had the geotagging, and that's all we did. We could take it a step further if we want, and we could take the geotagged photo. Remember the Picasa app syncs with the folder where your photo is at, and once you've geotagged it, the one that's in your folder automatically is geotagged. So what we could do is then, you know, go in and do all the stuff I taught you in an earlier video, where you are adding in the name, address, and phone number, and then you could delete the earlier version, the geotagged version that went up to Picasa online, the web album Picasa, and upload the new version that's not only geotagged but also contains the NAP information. So guess what we have again there? We have an unstructured citation that resides within that photo, sitting on Picasa's site, basically, which is domain authority of, I don't know, 93, 96. Again, you know, between Blogger being shared to Google+, between your unstructured citation appearing in YouTube, and, you know, all that property is linked over to Blogger and Picasa and Google+, and having it inside of your photo that's on Picasa, you've got some pretty powerful unstructured citations right out of the gate. Again, nobody else is even doing this stuff, so you really want to pay close attention to this. I will get into detail about how we can do this for you in a later video, where we can create not only these properties, but then go in and associate all sorts of websites with these sites and interlink them properly. So these social data hub partners that may not be actual Google properties, but Google's telling us, guys, these are the most important properties. So there's a way for us to go in and link all these together. You can do it yourself. I'll show you, you know, kind of what to do. But I can tell you it's a giant pain in the ass. It's better just to outsource it to us. We'll get it taken care of for you. And what's going to happen is you're going to get not only what we talked about, you know, in terms of Blogger being linked up to your Google Plus page, but everything's going to be connected to YouTube, and then it's going to be connected to all these social data hub partners like Digo and Delicious, and, you know, 15 other properties, all with a themed, you know, not really content, but it's going to be themed to your niche or your brand, and they're all going to interlink properly, and they're also going to have what are called IFTTT recipes to them, so that we can do some really cool stuff down the line if we want, not only from a link building perspective to get our sites ranked, but, you know, syndicate out things like our unstructured citations across all of those properties, which can be really, really powerful. I'm going to show you some different techniques and how we can use that in a lot of different ways to get maps rankings for a lot of keywords, to get our sites ranked for a lot of keywords, and get unstructured citations, across all these platforms. So we'll get into that. That's super, super advanced. This is part of the strategy, this, tying together these few properties. I'm going to show you a larger strategy that can really just absolutely kill it for you. And we can build those for you so you don't have to sit there and try to build each property interconnected. It takes hours. It's tedious, guys. Your time's more valuable. We'll do it for you, deliver the product ready to go. It's already set up with IFTTT recipes that will syndicate out everything so that you don't have to do anything. You do it once on one site and it automatically shares or syndicates out to all these other sites. So it's really cool. We'll talk more about that later. I'll see you over in the next video. All right, guys, welcome back. The next advanced technique that we can talk about and that you should plan on doing, especially in pretty competitive areas, is you've got to up your game with your level of citations, and specifically your level of niche specific and location specific citations. So, I told you earlier that I really like to start everything with Andrew over at Marketer Center. And if for some reason that's not doing it, for whatever reason you've purchased a package of local and maybe they were only able to come up with 20 different local citations, or you purchased the big package of citations, which you should do. This is giving you 20 of the best citations plus the data aggregators, but maybe you need more citations, right? So a couple places you can buy those citations that are good quality. First is Bright Local. Lots and lots of people love Bright Local. They will do really good overall citation building, not necessarily real specific, geospecific or niche specific citations, but if you need, if you want to get on 100 different directory sites, for instance, because you're in a competitive niche and that's what it calls for. And I'm going to walk you through how to kind of tell what you need based on your competition through some reporting that we can run. And maybe, you're in position 5 or 6 and the top 3 people have 100 citations and you only have 60, general structured citations. You might want to go pick up a package from somebody like Bright Local. The other place that I really, really like to get citations from, but they're pretty pricey, but they're really good, is whitespark.ca. They've been around a long time. These guys know citations inside and out. They do citation audits, cleanup, and I'm going to walk you through a tool that they have where we can check on or spy on our competitors to figure out what they have. But you can see we can go get generic citations for $4 each or local niche citations for $5 each. So they are by far not the cheapest route to go, but there are times when we want a lot more local or niche citations. And for whatever reason, we've tried one source and maybe we got 20 of them here. I would go and try to order as many as I can from somebody like Whitespark, and they'll tell you, look, they do an audit as they go. They don't just double build citations. They check to see if it already exists, and then they send you a report when they're done saying, here's the 25 you ordered, and there are 30 more total available because they checked, right? They bothered to check. So that means you could go back to them and get 30 more if you need to. So really the advanced technique is, if you are stuck for any reason because the initial work that you did over at Marketer Center just wasn't quite enough because the competition level is so high and the unstructured citations are helping, but they're not quite getting you there, I recommend hitting it with a larger package from Bright Local and then do some more local and niche citations. Maybe order, 20 more or something like that. it can really help. And we'll drop links to all these, different sources here, but these are the guys, okay, right? These are this is who you go to for citation building. I mean, period. These are people that know this stuff inside and out. I always start here, and if I need to add more general citations, I'll go to Bright Local. And if I really need more local and niche citations, which I'll find I do need sometimes, I might go pick up 10 or 20 more from WhiteSpark. So you can use it as an advanced technique, or you can use it right out of the gate to gain a competitive advantage and get ranked that much faster, guys. So really, that's all I have to say on that. I will see you over in the next video.